Hey, this episode of Bass Freaks is brought to you by MXR Bass Innovations. MXR has been a leader in guitar effects for over 45 years. MXR Bass Innovations creates bass effects pedals from the ground up, each one specifically designed for bass players by bass players. Not repurposed guitar pedals, but their overdrive, fuzz, EQ, preamp DI, octave, distortion, compressor, or chorus, these tried and true stomp boxes are designed by Dunlop's award-winning team of bassists and engineers. Go to jimdunlop.com and check out MXR Bass Innovations for your bass effects. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Dunlop Presents Bass Freaks. This is a place for all of us freaks to chat it up and gain a little insight and inspiration and have some fun with some great bass players. I'm your host, Josh Paul, and today we welcome bassist and co-founder of the band Rise Against, Mr. Joe Principe.
Yeah, dude, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. You're calling from Chicago.
Yeah, definitely at my house in Chicago. We're just getting ready to start rehearsing for our tour that we have in August, which is amazing that we could all finally tour, right?
Hell yes. It's back. It's coming back.
Yeah. It was crazy. Like, obviously when the pandemic's kind of, we had just gotten done recording our record, Nowhere Generation. And then the pandemic and the lockdown kind of set in like 2 weeks after that. And it was like, oh, this is going to suck. It's going to be around for like a month or two. And then it just slowly, like, it started sinking in, like, oh, this is like messed up. Like, this is going to be a while.
Yeah. We had a year-long tour scheduled, and then it was maybe no.
Yeah, totally. Oh man.
How did you cope, or how are you coping? I should say.
I remember the first like 2 months, everyone was trying to do like some bass playthroughs on their Instagram and, like do that. Yeah. And I did some of those. And at some point I just was like, shit, like this is the first time I'm off the road and I don't like, there's no end in sight, at least at that time. I didn't know when the vaccine would be available. So it could have been 5 years from that point, and I remember thinking, like, what the fuck do I do? Like, do I just start focusing on like a different career? Like, or what, like, it was scary,
Dude, I'm so with you. And I was in the same boat. I was seriously like getting my hamburger chops ready to go to flip some burgers. That's awesome. So you guys have been doing this, you've been doing this for a while now. Forever. I mean, how long have you guys been a band? And I think you have like 10 records out? So
this is our ninth record. But because we have one record that's a B-side record, so I don't include that. But yeah, so 10 records total, but 9 studio albums. And we started like December of 99, January 2000, like around there. And I remember the first year we started, it was because originally this was born from the ashes of my old punk band, 88 Fingers Louie, like from Chicago. Okay. And so we had this demo of like 7 songs when Rise Against, was when we were trying to find a singer. And then we had this revolving door of drummers. It sucked because Chicago, there's a severe lack of punk drummers that can play fast and not speed up or slow down, and I wanted somebody to have like a good, like their foot had to be like decent. I didn't want like people cheating their way through like a punk beat, I was like, cause I grew up listening to Suicidal and Amory Smith on that first record is fucking insane.
Oh yeah.
And then, but even like bands like, No Effects, Eric, the drummer, No Effects, has an insane kick drum foot, and I just was raised to that, or Lemmy not Lemmy, but like Motorhead, right? Like, yeah, like Mikey D, like he had that gallop feel, to his drum beats. So when we were looking for a drummer, and I ended up finding Brandon, our drummer now, through mutual friends, and he was out in Denver. So he flew out and he ended up moving out to Chicago for the band.
Right on.
Yeah. So like he definitely took a leap of faith and was like, all right, this band's just starting, but I'm going to try it out, you know? And then, yeah, like, so, and then in the meantime, we had recorded this demo with our friend Tony, who he was our drummer, but he was kind of like not sure if he wanted to be in a serious band at the time. We recorded our first demo on a Roland electronic drum kit. So our first demo sounds like Ministry. Like it sounds like it sounds really funny. It's all like electronic drums. Like
I actually want to hear that, dude.
Yeah, you know what? Like I'm wondering if I got to see if there's any of the songs out like on YouTube. I don't know if we ever ended up like releasing any of those like into the wild or not.
It'd be awesome to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, congrats on the longevity.
Thank you.
That's not very common really these days for bands, you know what I mean? To stick around that long, and I applaud you on that. Any secrets on that for maybe people out there who are starting a band or in bands and just trying to keep doing their thing?
Yeah, I think you have to be happy with what you're doing first and foremost. Once you're unhappy, that's everything starts to suffer. You know, like it's you're kind of devoting minimal effort to touring if you're unhappy, or minimal effort to songwriting. So luckily, after 20 years, we still absolutely love being Rise Against. We love writing how we write. We love waving like our punk rock flag, you know, in the world we're kind of in.
It's a badass world, by the way.
Oh yeah. Thank you. I
dig it, man.
I think when we started achieving mainstream success, you know, like longtime fans assumed like, oh, you're going to start writing for a radio crowd. And it's like, well, no, whatever you're hearing, it doesn't matter if we're on Geffen Records or Epitaph Records or, you know, some independent label. That's what we're writing. We've never demoed for a record label, like ever, really. We've demoed for ourselves, but not for a label.
Okay.
I don't know how Geffen let us get away with that for so long. But they just let us do our own thing. And I think that's, the core sound of the band always remained intact. Like we tried not to let too many outside distractions influence what we were writing. And I think we appeal to the mainstream because we are influenced by like not only punk rock and thrash metal and metal, but also like I'm a fan, especially early period Goo Goo Dolls. I love the Goo Goo Dolls. Fuck, Johnny Resnick, like such a good songwriter. I love Elvis Costello. I love the Police, you know, like, so there's always these, I draw from all these influences, and so does our singer, Tim, you know, same thing.
Very, very cool. I was going to ask you about that. So let's go back like diapers.
Yeah.
So, how did you get started in this kind of crazy world of the music?
It like fell into my lap. I had no plans on playing an instrument ever. I grew up skateboarding and going to punk shows and thrash metal shows. So what that allowed me to do is just meet people from all walks of life. And I was skateboarding my friend's half pipe in his backyard. And this kid, he was our mutual friend's younger brother. He just showed up and he goes, "Oh, my brother told me that like we should meet because we like the same kind of music." And then like a week went by and this kid kept coming by and watching me skateboard and hanging out. And he goes, "I'm starting a band. I play drums. Would you want to play bass in this band?" And I was like,
"And you didn't play bass at the time?"
I didn't play bass. I had never picked up a bass, but I did mess around with this acoustic guitar that was at my mom's house. My sister tried to take guitar lessons, and of course she took one lesson and was like, "Forget it."
That's because your fingers hurt, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's what she said. She's like, it hurt my fingers. I couldn't just make chords, you know, happen. And I remember like there was two bands that made me want to pick up this acoustic guitar. It was DRI and the Ramones. I wanted to learn power chords and I wanted to learn palm muting because DRI did a bunch of palm muting. And I wanted to learn just power chords because the Ramones, I thought it sounded cool. so I learned power chords, and then a year later, my friend asked me to play bass in his band, and I just after that, he loaned me his bass that he had at his house, and I took to it like pretty quickly. The first year, of course, I didn't know how to switch strings, so I was just sliding up and down the neck,
there's something to say about that though. You can get some cool voicings by doing that.
100%.
And it forces you to be creative, actually.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because there's Rise Against songs where I intentionally will play on the E string to get like certain slides down, or like, like you could hear all that, or sliding up to like, skipping, 8 frets, like sliding up to it. Like there's definitely a feel behind it.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I noticed that in your playing, you're bringing some melody in there I hear the slides in there as well. So it's very cool.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Thanks. Like, and that's just me growing up, being influenced by, Frank Bello from Anthrax is by far, Anthrax was the first band where when I was a kid, I bought Among the Living, and it was the first band where I started really hearing the bass separate from the guitar. His bass, I don't know, it was like the time and place. I was listening to it like on my little like boom box or whatever that I had, and I remember thinking like, oh wait, that's not a guitar, that's the bass player. That's the melody I'm hearing is like what Frank's doing on his bass. So I started picking up on these little nuances on how the bass and the guitar complement each other, and they complement the vocals, at like a young age. But then I started getting into bands like Dead Kennedys and Suicidal, of course, and the Descendants, which all those bands had amazing bass players, Dead Kennedys, especially growing up, like the bass, and because the guitar was kind of a clean tone, it really made the bass pop. And so like there was so many cool bass runs that they were doing. It just stood out to me, and I realized like this song wouldn't sound the way it does without the bass being busy here, or or picking a certain way, aggressive picking, like a cool rhythm. Like I really picked up on that early on, and it influenced the way I learned how to play bass. Like I love when a bass intros a song and the picking pattern is just like really prominent,
Yeah, definitely. I hear you on that. Did you take any lessons?
Never.
Okay. Self-taught. Okay.
I was self-taught. And it's one of those things I would like listen to like a cassette or a record and just listen to a song over and over and try to hear what they're doing, go back to the beginning, and I would do that for hours every day,
Oh, dude, me too. And I was fortunate where my mom kind of moved around a lot. So I have a twin sister, her and I doing home studies. So all I had to do really was kind of play. And we had a karaoke machine because my sister's a singer. And I would plug into that with my bass and just same thing that you did, play to these tapes and just rewind it and try to figure it out. So
yeah, and what that allows, I feel like, I mean, lessons are definitely beneficial, obviously, but it allows you to figure out your own style, and it allows you to do things unconventional that add to your style, like where I know my friend Matt, who plays in Rancid, like he uses his thumb a lot to hit the E string while he's playing the G and the D.
That's cool.
I was like, that is awesome. Like, because I would always ask him, like, how do you play this in whatever Rancid song? And he's like, oh, because I'm using my thumb. So it allows me to hit like certain things with my pinky. And I was like, oh shit.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's genius. It's a genius approach. But like, I learned like how to do I started writing with a lot of bass chords because I wanted to be not only the bass player, but I also wanted to be like the secret guitar player, so I would just in that way, like I would play a lot of bass chords and things like that. And I would always hear the counter melodies a bass was doing with a guitar, even at a young age. So whenever I would write, I would always play a lot of chords on the bass and hear the counter melodies the two strings were doing and how they complements the vocal. I was always like in tune to that. And then I carried over into when I pick up first and then down, and it allows me to play triplets easier because I'm picking up, like first. It makes triplets a lot easier for me.
I'm going to have to try that out. I have never tried that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I always start up first.
I am learning something new every single day, man. Thank you for that.
Totally.
So what's your approach to writing then and recording?
My approach is, it depends. If I'm sitting here, I have my bass here or whatever, or I have a guitar right next to it. If I pick up the bass first, that'll dictate what song, like the direction of the song, or whether I'm holding the bass first or my guitar. Cause I'll just lay down like a groove or just some type of rhythm on the bass first, or just some pattern. And then I'll think of I kind of play the guitar in my head as I'm writing the bass, right? And then I'll record the bass line and then overdub a guitar to see if it'll work. But again, I'll pick up the guitar first, and that'll influence what I'm doing on the bass. So it's just two different approaches. Like it's almost like two different sides of my brain. Like I know songs. I could tell songs that we have written in the past where I picked up the bass first or the guitar. I could just tell.
So can you elaborate a little bit on that? So say right now or maybe describe one of the particular songs so people can hear maybe what you're talking about a little bit more.
Yeah. For instance, I picked up the bass first. There's a song on our new record, Nowhere Generation, called Broken Dreams Incorporated. For sure, I picked up the bass first on that song. It's the bass. The intro that is very bass heavy. It's very bass oriented. The verse has bass chords in it. Again, it's really fast picking. It's something that it was like the bass is the lead instrument on it. I could tell in that sense. And then the guitar complements the bass. It's kind of like that, and that's what it boils down to is like, what do I want to be the lead instrument? Do I want the bass or the guitar first? In that particular song, it's the bass, and it's super obvious. If you go back and listen to it, you can kind of pick up on it.
That's awesome. How about like gear? What are you rocking?
Man, I keep it simple. Like I keep it live. For years and years, the gold standard, it was at my Ampeg SVT Classic 8x10 cabinet with a SansAmp distortion pedal. And that's about it. And I started playing a Fender jazz bass. That was the first bass. When I started playing bass, I had a Fender jazz bass, and I used that for years and years. And then on I want to say it was our second record that we did for a major label. So it was Suffering the Witness. I thought we're on the radio more, so maybe I'll hold it down a little bit more with a warmer sound. So I switched to a P bass. Okay. So then for years I played P bass, SansAmp, Ampeg. And then, at some point I switched from Ampeg to Orange because really it boiled down to the reliability at this particular era. I felt like Ampeg went through a weird time where the reliability wasn't there with their heads, like there was a lot of like overheating issues. Like you play and the bass would shut off, and I look back and you get like that red and green switching back and forth when it's overheating.
Yeah. And I've experienced that actually. Yeah.
Yeah, like exactly. So I switched to Orange, and Orange was great in their own right. And then at some point I discovered Dark Glass pedals and the Dark Glass 900 bass head. And, I really fell in love with it because the distortion just out of the gate, it's just ripping distortion, but you could set it, to however aggressive you want. And it's a well-rounded sound, and they were just super reliable. I toured with that Dark Glass head probably for 4 years straight, not one issue. Like whether we're playing outdoor festivals in like August or or those heads riding in like our truck, you know, like going from show to show, like just indestructible. But then every now and again, like I kind of miss that warmth that the Ampeg head has, and I go back to playing that. So right now, since during COVID, I'm playing an SVT head with a way huge pork and pickle pedal.
I love that pedal.
Dude, it's so good.
Yeah.
Because I started running into issues with my Sans amp, you know, failing and like just not, I don't know, like I felt the pork and pickle was a little bit more solid. Even coming from like the Dark Glass, I dabbled with like the Dark Glass Alpha Omega distortion pedal, and it sounded a little bit too like on the metal side for what we were doing.
Gotcha.
And then so the pork and pickle was fucking great, you know. So I kind of been running that.
I love that you don't lose the bottom with that.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's a MXR sub-octave fuzz pedal. Have you used that before?
You know, I haven't.
The fuzz and the overdrive in it is brilliant. I love it. But then you incorporate the octave in there, and it's just your rumbling stages. So you should check that one out too. Yeah, definitely. What about strings? And I know you're a pick player predominantly, correct?
Yes, I've been using Dunlop nylon .88s for. I've been literally using those since I was like 16, so 30 years. Yeah.
OG.
Yeah. Like there's something about, I feel like I haven't heard many people talk about materials and picks, right? There's a certain bend you get with nylon that I'm just accustomed to. If I go to like a Tortex pick, I can't play them. Like my hand starts cramping. The tone sounds different to me. Because the attack on the strings is different. So I've been using the nylon picks forever because I feel like the bend in those picks, it's predictable. So when I'm doing triplets or something really fast, I know how the pick is going to react, you know? I also just got into these Herco 73s.
What is
that? Like Dunlop sent me some of these guys, and it feels similar to a .88 pick, but you know, Herco's under the Dunlop umbrella there.
Right.
I kind of dig these. They're shaped a little different, but they're kind of cool too. You know, very similar to the .88s.
Awesome strings.
So I've been using 105 to 50 gauge. I love stainless steel over nickel, and I've been playing. I was an Ernie Ball guy for a long time, and with this last record, I had our buddy Ken from Dunlop sent me a bunch of Dunlop strings, and I was not bashing Ernie Ball because I owe a lot to Ernie Ball for taking care of me for so long, but there was something about the stainless steel Dunlops that they were just. I mean, my bass really sings on this new record. You could hear it, you know, it just pops. There was just something about it. So I switched to playing the Dunlop strings, and I know like Daryl from Dunlop hooked me up with the Lemmy strings because it's my gauge, and they're stainless steel, and they're fucking great.
That's sick, man. I love that. You know, so I love punk rock. I know you love punk rock and grew up listening to it. There's this sort of reckless abandon that it's a beautiful thing. I really adore it. And as aggressive as the music is, as I mentioned before, I can hear your melodic lines in there, which I really appreciate. And I was wondering maybe what other musical influences aside from the punk rock stuff? Because I can hear that you're in there, you're singing. Do you sing at all?
It's funny. I do all like the woe kind of harmonies.
Yeah.
Like those three-part harmonies. I can do those really well because I grew up with bands like Bad Religion who are doing three-part harmonies.
Yeah.
And obviously taking it way back to like the Beatles doing their harmonies. and Motown singers. And I always loved oldies, and it's funny growing up, I always heard what the backing vocalists were doing almost more so than a lead vocalist. I don't know why my brain works that way, but I'll hear melodies that the backing vocals are doing as prominent melodies. And I think it's just because I come from, it goes for like the same reason why I like to do bass chords. It's so that two strings complementing each other, with like these melodies. And same with the backing vocals. So I do the woes, but for some reason I have a hard time singing words. Which is ridiculous. Like my brain only works one way with backing vocals. It's ridiculous. So like,
man, I hear you.
So I do sing.
Right on, man. I appreciate that, and I can never remember lyrics myself. So I think that's my issue.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about tour life. Do you have any special requests that keep you going out there, keep you healthy? You have any crazy writer requests?
No, like I'm like I keep it simple. Like I'm like a coffee dork. So
me too.
There you go. Like that's what I have right here. Is I have like my little home barista station at my house. I make lots. I do iced oat milk lattes every day.
Okay, dude. If the band doesn't work out, we can start like a barista company or something. We'll wear our aprons and everything.
I'm fully down. It's funny because Charlie from Anthrax lives in Chicago, and he is also a coffee dork. And if we run into each other, we're always talking about like we should start a coffee shop. Right. But it never gets past like those like little like talks here and there.
There's still time. There's still time.
Yeah, exactly. So when I'm on tour, I bike a lot. I'll get on my bike. I go find a cool coffee shop and hang out and read a book or whatever, just to get out of the venue.
Yeah.
But as far as writers, I'm vegan. So okay. I have like, I need to have like veggies backstage. So I'm not like snacking on junk food all day. Yeah. But after every show, I have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Dude, me too. And I thought I was just a fat kid.
No, yeah, exactly. It's comforting, right? And it's
yes.
like, it's not like, cause we did the pizza thing for years and years, but I'm like, I can't fucking eat pizza at midnight anymore. Like yeah. I can't, cause I'm eating 3 pieces of pizza, then going to bed. And
right.
It's like, so at least the peanut butter and jelly is a little bit, smaller, and it's not so, I don't know. I don't think it's as heavy because it's like one sandwich and then you're done.
Right. You said you go out for bike rides, and is that how you kind of keep your sanity? I know because touring, we're in a different spot every single day, and even though it's different, it's still the same, if that makes sense. Yeah,
100%. And that is for sure like how I keep my sanity. Like I love to get out and see the city I'm in. I love like I'll use like I have like a few apps on my phone, like all trails, like to find different trails that are nearby, like me, like bike trails. So I just explore trails in the city that I'm in. And I'll leave the venue for like 3 hours and go down like and bike for like 20 miles or whatever. And then after every bike ride, I find my coffee shop.
Wait a second. Did you say 20 miles?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. Yeah. If you're walking or biking, it allows you to notice things you wouldn't have noticed otherwise. I mean, you're in a car, you're driving by and you're missing everything, but it definitely allows you to like really experience what the city has to offer in different neighborhoods and things like that. Like, so yeah, like I feel like we both have been touring for so long, like we owe it to ourselves to really check out the cities we're in, like we've seen a million backstages. Like I don't want to see that.
That's true, man. And I always recommend that people, if they can, travel, even if it's to the next city over or even to the next block over, and just see what the rest of the world is about, because it's really helped me as a human being, and with compassion and empathy, and inspiration.
It's super important to experience, even different cultures, even going to different countries. I remember like the first time like first time I went to Europe with my old punk band, and we were playing like squats and stuff, like, and I remember like at first being nervous because I was like this suburban kid from Chicago, and I haven't really experienced that up until this point. We're talking like 1994, 95.
Okay.
And I remember just talking to people at these squats in Germany and Italy and thinking like they're so much more well-rounded, like as far as like global views than we were as Americans. They just were so much more in tune to history and arts, culture. And I was like, man, like I want to experience as much as I can. So like I remember thinking like from this point on, I need to like get to know whatever countries or cities, we were in. Like I want to get out there and just not be such like just lazy and like I just wanted to learn as much as I could about wherever I was.
That's great, man. It's so important. And I'm sure it helped with writing and the work that you do and being able to cope with being away from family. You have family, right?
Yeah. Three kids. It does like it makes touring. So, I mean, other than playing for our fans, it makes touring and being gone so much more worthwhile because I can bring that home to my children. I could talk about whatever art museums I visited or I mean, I'm vegan, and that's why I ended up here, was because traveling for, I don't know, 25, 30 years, learning why people were becoming vegetarian or vegan, just learning about things I didn't agree with factory farming, or learning about why it's important to eat local produce, things like that. Like why spraying pesticides on veggies was bad. I was so ignorant to all that, growing up. So it really kind of opened my mind, and it allowed my wife and I to raise my children the way we do. We don't tell them like you have to be vegetarian or vegan. They choose to be that. But they're so much more in tune with healthy eating, especially they're 8 years old, 10 years old, and 12 years old. They're so much more in tune with it than the rest of their friends, and their friends kind of poke fun at them sometimes, but in the long run, they're going to be way better off, I think.
Cheers to that. So do you have a favorite gig, or maybe the worst gig you've ever done? You don't have to name any names or anything like that, but I'll name both. So the worst gig we ever have played was like the first year we were a band, and we played the House of Blues in Chicago, opening up for the Circle Jerks. Ooh. And Circle Jerks are one of my favorite bands. I grew up worshiping that band, and all those guys in that band they're so talented. Like Xander Schloss, the bass player of the Circle Jerks, he is so talented. I mean, he played in Joe Strummer's band. He's awesome. A multi-instrument. Oh my God, I'm totally drawing a blank. He can play multiple instruments. That's what I'm trying to say. Like me, man. You're starting to sound like me.
I know, my brain's not working today. But we played, and people in Chicago, like the old punks, they didn't want anything to do with us, and we got heckled the whole show. People were throwing beer at us. Like,
oh no, that's.
And having that experience in our hometown was like it crushed me, especially opening up for one of my favorite bands. So that goes down into like being like our worst gig I think ever.
But you pushed through on that one. Thankfully. Pushed
through, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I remember some guy kept yelling, "Play real Chicago hardcore," and I remember thinking like, do I say something to combat that? Because like, what is he talking about? Because this band is influenced by like all these old Chicago bands. I just kind of let it go, but whatever.
Best
but then
thing to do.
My favorite gig was probably, I would say, it's funny. There's two different scenarios. selling out the Troubadour for a week straight. We did a residency at the Troubadour
in LA.
In LA, yeah,
awesome.
to kick off like the release of one of our records. I think it was Suffer and the Witness, our record Suffer and the Witness. So it was our second major label record. So we did a residency there. Every show sold out. It was like insane. Kids stage diving and going nuts. And that was incredible. Like, I mean, it's definitely like I feed off that energy. I feed off the kids going nuts. And then also playing Wrigley Field in Chicago with Fall Out Boy. We played, that was 2018.
Amazing.
That was insane. Like the fact that to grow up in Chicago, I mean, Wrigley Field, they didn't have shows when I was a kid, but the fact that I was standing on stage in Wrigley was like, just blew my mind. You know, like I felt like I had no place being there.
That's what it's all. I mean, dreams, man. Just dreams have come true, and in your hometown, that's so awesome. Is there any advice that you'd like to give, young musicians?
Just follow your heart. If you're unhappy doing something, don't do it. Find what makes you happy, and practice your ass off. Yes,
sir. I agree with that. Where should people check you out and the band?
riseagainst.com, or you can search Instagram. All of our socials are just Rise Against. We're on tour in August all through the United States. We're not going to be able to hit every state because of just availabilities of venues and things like that. But we're playing like 25 shows across the United States. So definitely look out for that.
Hell yes, man. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate you, and I hope to hang sometime.
Right on. Thanks, Josh.
That's our show for today. Thank you for joining us. Stay healthy and kind. Spread love, good vibes, and inspiration. And remember, you got this. Follow your path and just play. I'm Josh Paul. I hope to see you out there sometime soon. And thank you so much to Dunlop for making this show possible. Be sure to go check out Bass Freaks wherever you get your podcasts.